Hello and welcome to another Mage Tower guide. This time we're going to be jumping into the Elemental Shaman. So as always, we're going to start off with our consumables. We're going to need Flask of the Whispered Pact, Crit Food, and Potions of Prolonged Power. You will not need to bring any kind of drums as you are a shaman. For the talents, this is the setup that I went with. However, there's some things that I would do differently if I were to do this again. The first being the first tier. I went with Totem Mastery, but I honestly think Path of Flame will be overall better in most situations. Having to put down the totems again every single time you move gets really annoying, and sometimes you forget about them, which is what I did. But Path of Flame also helps spread your Flame Shock to other targets as well, which can be helpful if you're having trouble with the adds, as well as just that passive boost to your damage as well. So either one of these is fine. I just happen to go with Totem Mastery. In the second tier, Gust of Wind is an absolute must, and you'll see why in my kill video I make a lot of usage out of it. The next tier, you've got Lightning Surge Totem versus Earth Grab Totem. And if, again, this is another one that I would do differently. Lightning Surge, for what I ended up doing from my plan, I think Lightning Surge would have been better. I ended up not using Earth Grab at all in my kill. I started off with a plan of using it, and by the end of it, I kind of decided that it really wasn't worth it. You can keep the Imp Servants from ever actually reaching Agatha with the Earth Grab Totem, but it just felt like way too much work and it was just a lot easier just to kill them. And with that being said, I feel like a stun would have been just generally more helpful in more situations. The next tier is really up to however you've been playing your class. Aftershock is very specific for your legendaries for most situations. And Ancestral Swiftness is just kind of generally thought of as the go-to. So that's the one that I used, and it's something I don't have to worry about because it's passive. The next one is between Liquid Magma Totem and Echo of the Elements. I went with Echo. If you feel like you need more AoE, then I would go with Liquid Magma Totem and then using that opposite of Stormkeeper. I didn't feel like I need it, because with the Lastro, I went with Lightning Rod over Ascendance, and I think that Lightning Rod is better than Ascendance in pretty much every situation, regardless of what your gear is, just because of how much cleave you're going to have to be doing throughout the fight. So you can try out Ascendance if you want, but I do think Lightning Rod is going to be better in most situations. So let's quickly run through the abilities and adds we're going to be seeing in this fight. First off, let's talk about the abilities that Agatha has. So she has 4 abilities, the first of which is called Shadow Stab, which is just a uninterruptible cast that you really can't do anything about, that just does damage to you. Nothing really to say there. The next one is Dark Fury. This is an absorb shield she will put on herself once she reaches 100 energy. She will also start channeling a cast that you will need to break the absorb shield first to be able to interrupt it. If you don't do this quickly enough, you'll be taking a lot of damage, so make sure you can do it as fast as possible. The next ability is called Agatha's Fury, which you don't really need to know the name of. Basically, every time an imp dies, she'll put a purple swirly underneath wherever you're standing, and you'll just have to move out of it or heal through it. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it is worth noting. And the last ability she has is called Fell Lava Blast. She will only use this in Phase 2, which is at 50% health. And this puts a green swirly on the ground that you'll definitely want to move out of, as it does more than the purple swirlies do, and also leaves behind a green puddle on the ground that will deal damage if you stand in it. Moving on to the adds, we have 4 different types. The first ones are called Smoldering Imps. These will cast Firebolt at you, which will deal increased damage the more cast of Firebolt that they're able to get off. So make sure when these guys are up, you want to kill them as fast as you can, otherwise their damage will overwhelm you. The second type of adds we'll see are called Imp Servants. These will spawn at a distance from Agatha and then run towards her. Once they get close enough to her, they will then channel an ability called Funnel Energy. This will heal Agatha and then also buff her damage for the rest of the fight. So these are another high priority target as well. Try to kill them as quickly as you can. Their channel can be interrupted, but overall it's best to save it if you know that Dark Fury is going to be coming up soon. The next adds are called Umbral Imps, and when these spawn, Agatha will be completely immune to all damage and interrupts. So again, killing these quickly is extremely useful. Make sure that you're killing them as fast as you can, especially when you know that Dark Fury is about to come up, so that you can actually break her shield. They also have an ability called Translocate, which will teleport them around Agatha. However, Chain Lightning will pretty much make that a non-issue. And the last ads we'll be dealing with are called Fuming Imps. These guys will spawn in and then run towards you. If they reach you, they will begin casting the uninterruptible ability called Plague Zone, which if it goes off, it will explode and knock you back if you're standing near them, as well as put down a puddle on the ground, which will cause you to be slowed and take damage if you stand in it for the rest of the fight. We also have a big environmental hazard we have to deal with, which are these falling boulders in Phase 2. These will always fall from the upper level towards the lower level, and if they hit you, you will be knocked back, stunned, and take a lot of damage, which almost always results in a death. So make sure you're positioning yourself in a way where you won't be hit. And that's pretty much all the relevant information you need to know, so on to the fight itself. Okay, so what you're going to see me do right off the bat is basically just try to push in as much damage as possible into Agatha. So what I'll do is I'll drop my totems down, use Elemental Blast, Flame Shock, and Lava Burst to get started. Now I'm going to get ads right away, so I'm going to use my Stormkeeper and Chain Lightning them down to make fairly short work of them. And that's how we're going to be using Stormkeeper throughout the fight, is a basic way of chaining down the ads. Now you get to see me lose Flame Shock on Agatha, and I don't put it back. And I've been trying to figure out what exactly was going on in my head, and I have no idea. So, you know, feel free to make fun of me for that. Anyway, moving on, I'm going to move over to the side here so the Fuming Imp will follow me over there and then explode off to the side where it won't really bother me throughout the rest of the fight. And that's kind of my general strategy for the Fuming Imps, is to just move them off to the side, not worry about having to damage them or kill them at all, and they'll just explode off to the side and then they won't bother me again. So we're going to get our first Dark Fury right here. I'm going to save my Earth Shock for that. Quickly break the shield and interrupt the cast. And here's another Fuming Imp, again moving off to the side. Note that this little rock right here does not protect you from the green puddle, so that will still do a lot of damage to you, so make sure you don't do exactly what I did there. Another Stormkeeper for those ads. And here I'm just going to focus down these Imp Servants. And there's one, and then I had a couple extra charges from Stormkeeper. Finish that one off pretty quickly, and now back to Agatha. I'm pretty close to 50%, so I'm going to try to squeeze this phase right here, which I will do, and she will phase to the second phase now. So now I'm going to get the big falling rocks as well. Move that Fuming Imp over there, and make my way back up to Agatha at the top. So again, just trying to do as much damage as I can right here to break the shield, get the interrupt, and now my focus goes back to the ads. So during this phase, you're going to have to be paying extra attention to these boulders. So remember that Gust of Wind is really useful for quick positioning if you need it as well. Here I'm going to get a lot of ads all at once, including Umbral Imps. Now you'll see that I get full Maelstrom, and the ads are kind of spread out, so I don't use Earthquake here, though you could debate that it was probably still worth using. But I decided not to, and just save it for an Earth Shock on Agatha once the Umbral Imps were killed. So that was kind of my thought process there. Doing as much damage as I can, and then moving to the next side as she teleports over. So right there I was thinking about using Earth Grab, and that was kind of that point where I was like, you know what, I can just kill these things fairly quickly. So I just decided not to. That was where I also heroed and used my Earth Elemental, because this part it just kind of happens fairly quickly. It just feels like I was getting ads much faster than the other two positions in the fight where she is, so it felt like the best usage of hero for me specifically. And here we're going to get more ads, and these are both Umbral and Smoldering, and this time I'll use Earthquake. And as you saw right there, the Fuming Imp came in and had already started casting Plague Zone, and I did not want it right in the middle, so I used Thunderstorm to knock him away. Now these aren't perfect positions either, but they're not directly in the middle, so it was it's better than, you know, right in the exact center or underneath her. So another reason why I like being closer to her, especially on the opposite side, and I'm just going to finish off killing one of those ads and then move up. But the reason why over here I like being closer to her is because this little hallway is actually a lot narrower than it seems. So up in her face is where you actually have the most room to move. So this one will start casting Plague Zone way before I wanted it to, so I just knocked him over, and that interrupts his cast, and he'll keep chasing me. So I take a big wide circle, he'll blow up on top of the other Plague Zones that already exist, and that just kind of tucks it away neatly over there so I don't have to worry about it. And that's another Stormcaller with those adds. That Gust of Wind helping me out there from just quickly being able to move over. Finishing off that Servant, last Smoldering Imp, and now breaking the rest of that barrier. And this one I just want to tuck this guy back over here, let him explode. I'm going to jump over the zones right there, do some more damage, and this should be the last teleport that I'll get. Run back down, I'll just drop my totems one more time once I get down here, and then just a quick Elemental Blast and Lava Burst, and that's it. And that's pretty much the fight. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Not much to say about it in general. I do think that Roots of Shaldrazel was just a little bit too powerful for this fight, and if I could do it again, which I really wish I could, well, especially for the sake of making guides, I would definitely not be using those legendaries, or that specific legendary, as it helped because I never had to cast a heal once. So when you do it, if you don't have Roots of Shaldrazel, make sure you're using and just weaving in Healing Surge whenever you get a chance to. It shouldn't take away too much from the fight for you, as long as you're just constantly weaving them in, and don't wait until you get too low before you start using it. Just every couple of casts, if you see yourself get to like 70-80%, go ahead and weave in a Healing Surge. But outside of that, it shouldn't differ too much. But yeah, it was a pretty good fight. I actually enjoyed it more than I did like with the Unholy Death Knight, or with especially with the Fury Warrior. This one felt a little bit better tuned, at least for the item level that I was at. So let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know what you think about the guide. And other than that, I will see you guys next time.